Number 4, personally, I think my biggest disappointment of the summer. Amazing Spider-Man 2 coming in raising about 91.6 million in its opening weekend.
Oh
About
Lord.
just over 200 million over its lifetime. Both Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes agree, 53 out of 100 for
Yeah.
this one. And that really, I mean, it's no surprise it's at number 4 because it was really a highly anticipated film. The trailers were all like really energizing, electric,
Well,
if you
it's also
will.
Spider-Man. It's also
Yeah, and it's also
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. He's got a great brand going behind him, even though I think these rebooted movies have been falling flat. I think they
Well,
had
that
a
was the
lot to
thing,
work
actually.
with. Go ahead.
But well, actually, it's interesting to note. Yes, it was hugely successful on the opening weekend, but it got crushed in the following weekend by I think it was Bad Neighbors.
Well,
So,
it placed 6 in its total lifetime of the top 10 summer movies.
but that's the thing. They were expecting a mega
Yeah.
blockbuster hit out of this movie. That's what Sony was budgeting
I
for,
mean,
and they did
Maleficent beat
not
this
get that.
movie. Come on, I think we
No,
could.
that's the thing. Like it won its opening weekend, but it lost by huge margins its
Yeah,
following weekends.
yeah.
Yeah.
So even though it did make a lot of money, that made it kind of a failure for the studio because they were expecting it to be a mega hit, and it was not. It very much was not.
Justin, did you see it?
I did not. Honestly, I didn't see the first one. I had no interest in
Mm.
Spider-Man at that point.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
I love Andrew Garfield, but I don't
And-
want to see him in these movies.
You
this.
know, and it's I really should reserve judgment, but I have seen certain like clips this recent movie, and nothing I've seen has convinced me this is something I need to see. Honestly, I think it's certainly and I've suffered from Marvel fatigue. I think not just Marvel fatigue, superhero fatigue in general, but man,
Mhm.
Marvel really has their shit together,
Right.
and
They know how to
Sony,
make
who's
a movie.
handling Spider-Man, I don't think they have.
Well, it's Marvel, and what's the studio making the movies? Is it Disney?
Yeah.
Marvel owns Disney. Yeah.
It's
I
Marvel.
mean,
It's
other way
Marvel.
around. Disney owns Marvel. I wish
Catholic
Marvel owned
agency, they'll come to
Disney.
you. Well, no, wait. So, because
Sony
Sony
and
has
Fox.
the rights to Spider-Man.
And Fox owns
Fox,
X-Men.
Yeah.
exactly. But so it's Disney that owns the rights to the Avengers, the
Right.
current Avengers.
Right.
Right. Okay. Just so we have that clear. But yes, it's the Marvel. It's specifically the Marvel Disney team that's handling the Avengers. They have their shit together.
I mean, Fox is not far behind with the X-Men, and now they're making a new Fantastic Four with the black Human Torch that got a lot of media attention. So I'm interested to see how that turns out because the first two were abysmal. But anyway, back to Spider-Man. I felt that the movie it started with a lot to work with, and I think some of the core ideas were there. But about halfway through the movie, it just gets lost and muddled. So one of the things I think worked was how he was haunted by what's her face's father, who died in the first movie.
Gwen Stacy's.
Gwen Stacy's father, yeah.
Yeah.
He kept appearing to Peter as like an omen of things to come and things he shouldn't be doing, and I love that. That was nice. And I think the character of Electro and the actor, what was the actor's name?
Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx. I think there was a lot of potential there, but around the middle of the movie, around the climax of the movie, during that fight in Manhattan, he loses all depth and just starts,
Mhm.
beating up on Spider-Man, even though he has no reason to. So
Mhm.
they were starting to lay out some really good groundwork, but they just decided forget the story, let's just fight. And I think really that's the problem. In
How
addition
many-
to that, they really were just trying to squeeze in a lot of things for their spin-off, the Sinister Six. So they didn't really worry about the movie they were making. They were worried about the future movies.
Because DC's efforts to ape the Avengers are going so well, let's do it too.
Yeah. Well, that's why Fox is doing the Fantastic Four now too, so the Fantastic Four and the X-Men could mash up.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if I want to see that happen.
Avengers really did change the landscape of cinema.
Yeah, the thing is, it's going to take a while before anyone can really duplicate that success.
Right.
But yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
anything left to say? Anything left to say about this? I mean, yeah.
No, I think we beat it up.
I'm not a Spider-Man person, and these movies are not going to convert me.
Yeah. You mentioned you like Andrew Garfield. I think he's very divisive too. Some people love him as Spider-Man. Some people are like on the fence. I'm personally on the fence. I think he's okay.
Nah.
But anyway, so now number 3. We're in the top 3 now. Number 3 is Godzilla, making 93 million in the
Yeah.
first weekend.
Oh no! There goes
Let
Tokyo.
them fight.
Oh, Godzilla. Let them fight.
Let them fight.
Noah's entire review of Godzilla will just be a series of moisture cult lyrics. Not just Godzilla. He's gonna just start quoting like astronomy and then Joan Crawford and all that.
Did you guys see the how it should have ended for Godzilla?
Yes,
No.
that's where I got
With,
the let them fight.
With what's his name? With David Strahan suggesting all of these different options for how they could help Godzilla, and Ken Watanabe's just like,
Let them
"Don't
fight.
let them fight."
Yeah.
You just want to see big monsters fighting, don't you? Let them fight.
Speaking of flops, though, I mean, Spider-Man went from 4th opening weekend to 6th gross. Godzilla went from 3rd opening weekend to 7th gross. So it really plummeted over the weeks. It still did well. It still made 200 million.
Yeah. I mean, I
they
get
made
that.
enough to make a sequel apparently. So
That's true.
I guess it did well.
You know, I'm fine with I'm fine with another round of Godzilla movies because again, that's something that I've just never I just never really got into as a kid. So I'm all open. I'm all up for getting the chance to be exposed to sort of a new interpretation of them. And for what it was, I liked the movie, but yeah, I have to agree with everyone else. The human characters are a huge problem.
And,
Um,
it's interesting because I wouldn't have had such a problem with that if we didn't spend so much time with them. It's almost like I wonder why if you're going to have uninteresting human characters, why not spend more time with the monsters if that's what you're gonna do, because it's not interesting spending time with these people. We don't care about them. We're not invested in what they're trying to do.
I mean, the dad's fun. Ken Watanabe is always
but-
interesting when he's on screen, but that's it.
Honestly, most of the actors here, I feel like they didn't have a whole lot to do. It's funny because when I saw the cast for this, I'm like, this is the cast for Godzilla? Are we sure this isn't the cast for like a Woody Allen movie or something? I mean, it's just like, look at you have all these great actors. You have Sally Hawkins, who has nothing to do here. You have Ken Watanabe, who all he does is stare, and his eyes go wide.
and he says some awesome
And
lines.
he says the occasional cool line. What a waste of talent. Honestly, like this is. I have a little bit of a grudge against this movie because I really like it. It's done so well critically. Like I'm kind of surprised that it's almost like because it was better than people were expecting, they just overrated it.
Well, it's
oh.
Metacritic gave it a 62 and Rotten Tomatoes is a 73. So it's not like great, but
Really?
it's
Oh, I thought it was higher than that.
Yeah, I think let me check. I think I gave it 2 out of 5, or sorry, 2 out of 4. When I did my review,
That's
of the
about what
movie.
I'd give it.
interesting though. The 2004 Godzilla made much higher according to Metacritic. It was a 78
2004?
according to Metacritic. I don't know.
I mean, you're talking. Was that a Japanese one? Because I think the American one was like 90, 98. I want to say.
I thought
Roland
there was
Emmerich
a
one?
there
No,
was
let's see. I'm checking my review now. I gave Godzilla 2.5 stars out of 4.
Okay.
You're right, Justin. It was Japanese. It was a
Oh,
Japanese release.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I felt the film was worth seeing. Ultimately, I don't think it was a great movie.
Bryan Cranston, though, while we're talking about actors, I didn't see it, but I heard he died like 5 minutes into it.
He
Yeah.
dies pretty quickly, and
Yeah.
There's a
probably
thing.
the best. He probably gives the best performance in it.
The problem
And
is his
John.
death leaves us with his son.
And then we're
Did not inherit his
who is the
charisma.
same guy who played Kick-Ass, and he was actually really good as Kick-Ass. And I'm sure he's played John Lennon, and it's just like I don't understand. Did he just get like really bad direction here, or did he just not want to overshadow? Was he afraid of overshadowing Godzilla?
I feel like. I'm sorry, overshadowing Godzilla is funny.
There's so many ways to turn that into a bad pun. I can't.
I feel like he's an actor that goes either way. He can either be. I don't know if he's ever great. I'm talking about Aaron Taylor Johnson now, the guy who plays Kick-Ass. I don't think I've ever seen
Yeah.
anything fantastic, but I've
Okay.
seen him in a couple things that are bad. But more often than not, he's just there. So I'm anxious to see him in the Avengers movie, see what he'll look like in that.
Yeah, that's I think a lot of it comes down to writing and direction.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best screenplay in the world. I don't think it was the best direction in the world.
I mean,
So
there's certain parts that I did like. I like the scene where where the soldiers are all basically parachuting into this area and you just kind of see the lights.
that was great.
I wasn't really a fan of the way, because usually with monster movies, what's so great about them is the way they build up the monster. Something like Jaws does this extremely well. This movie isn't even close to that in terms of building up.
It's trying. It wants to.
It's got to, and it's almost like it's funny because you get the sense I also thought the design here for the monsters was very uninspired. Like it just felt like really generic, and
I love how a lot of people were picking. I love how a lot of people were picking on Godzilla for looking overweight.
Well, it was an American film.
I don't know. I just it's I didn't really have high expectations for the one, and to be fair, I did kind of see it on a whim with some friends, but it was just kind of like I was really hoping it was going to be better than I was expecting, and
Let's hope, since this is owned by the same studio that does Pacific Rim, we'll get a Godzilla Pacific Rim crossover.
yeah.
That will be redeeming.
Okay, that would get my money.